Let me bring in our hypnotist, Marshall Silver.
It's Marshall Silver, ladies and gentlemen, the world's fastest hypnotist.
Ba-dum. That's what I say. Welcome. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that we are not disturbed, that we can have some time together and change your life. What do you think about that? How was your weekend? That's what I want to know. Mine was spectacular. We did a 3-day turning point. It was awesome, off the charts right here at Studio Money. We also did some escape rooms with the family to kind of cool down. Went bowling with my son and his entire band that just competed at Peace Fest. How cool is that? We also had some remarkable restaurant experiences, and my son Maximus and my daughter Prosperity got baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. Can I feel it over the weekend? So it was awesome. It was an awesome weekend. And, you know, ultimately, it's a fact that we are who we think we are. Here's what most people don't realize, though. Most people understand that we are who we think we are. They don't understand that we get to choose that. I'm Marshall Silver. Marshall freaking Silver. If all you did was change your middle name to freaking, I promise you the world will respond to you differently because you'll feel different about yourself. When I say that everything is hypnosis, I mean that. What you believe to be true is true for you. What you focus on expands. Reality is created by validation. What does that mean? The more validation you have to support a particular fact or truth, the more likely it is that that truth is going to exist in your life. So you should know that your choices of what you believe to be true, what you perceive to be true, and more importantly, what you act on to be true, that will determine your reality. Played racquetball this morning with my executive assistant, Anthony. This guy's a beast. He's 33 years younger than me. He is a remarkably great athlete in just amazing condition and shape. And when we play racquetball, it's tough. I mean, we play at the same level. I've played for longer than him. He's younger and a better athlete. So we're about evenly matched up. And I was just talking to him this morning when we played. The person that wins the game invariably is the person that wants to win the game the most. That's it. In a world where all things are equal, that's what's going to happen, is the person that wins is going to be the one that wants it the most. Now, all sorts of things go into our motivating factors. At this point of my life, I've made over $800 million using hypnosis, and I'm going to teach you some of those techniques too. I've made over $800 million purely through reprogramming my brain. I have been on David Letterman 6 times, more than actually no other hypnotist has ever appeared on Late Night with David Letterman, and none will since he's now off the air. I was on Howard Stern's show 6 times. I was on Sally Jesse Raphael, and I'm the most televised hypnotist in history. We do the largest hypnotic-based seminars in the world. We have been over to China a number of times. I've hypnotized over 1.2 million people via hypnosis in our seminars to make more money. So let's break it down. If you're with me right now, I think you should be taking some notes. The more notes you take, the smarter you will become. The smarter you become, the better looking you become. Trust me on this one. The better looking you become, the more you will get in every area of your life. So what I want you to do is first write down a definition of hypnosis. Hypnosis, in the technical sense, is the non-critical acceptance of ideas or concepts on a subconscious level. I'll say that in layman's terms. One person says something, another person believes it to be true. And here's the most important part. And then acts upon it as if it's true. That's hypnosis. Now let's couple that with the idea that ultimately everything is self-hypnosis. What do I mean by that? All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. People ask me, can I be hypnotized to do things that I wouldn't normally do? The answer is no. So what I've got to do is change what you would normally do. What do I mean by that? If I ask you, would you ever rob? Would you ever steal from somebody else? You might answer no. But if I asked you the question, I'm doing a seminar and I've got this big basket of apples on my table on stage. The entire seminar goes on a break. I'm out of the room and you walk into the room. Your family is starving. Your kids haven't eaten for 3 days. Big giant bowl of apples on the stage. Clearly, I've got more than enough money and I certainly have more than enough apples for the circumstance. I'm never going to eat all those apples. Nobody would notice if you grabbed a couple for your starving children. I don't know about you. In that circumstance, yes, I would steal. I would. If my children were starving and I didn't see any other option, I would steal. Then I'll ask you, would you ever kill anybody? You say, oh gosh, no, I would never kill another human being. If somebody has a gun to the head of somebody that you love, and you know the only way to save the life of the person that you love is to kill the person that's threatening the person that you love, I'm guessing you would kill them. I know I would in a heartbeat. And if you wouldn't, I pray that nobody ever has a gun to my head and that you love me because I'm out of luck. So the key isn't to get somebody to do something they wouldn't normally do. That's a misnomer. That's a piece of misinformation. What a hypnotist's job, what my job is to actually create a frame of reality, a new belief inside of you that a particular belief is not only appropriate, but the particular behavior that would support that belief is the behavior that you should do. When I was a kid, we were dirt poor growing up. I have 10 siblings. I have 6 sisters. I have 4 brothers. All 11 of us were born from the same mom. I have 10 siblings. We were dirt poor growing up. No running water, no electricity, no phone. Often we had little, sometimes no food. Twice my family was homeless. At 6 years old, I watched my mother cry because she couldn't feed her family. And I made the determination at 6 years old that whatever it was that was causing my mother to experience that level of pain that would cause her to cry in front of her children while she was praying over the meal, I realized in that moment that I would do whatever I needed to do to make sure I never saw my mother cry those tears again. And when I realized that she was crying because of a lack of money, my little 6-year-old self said, I'm solving this for her. Whatever it takes, I'm going to solve this for her. My first pet when I was a kid was a white rat. The high school was doing experiments. They were running rats through a maze, through a labyrinth, and they were about to get rid of the rat. And I said, no, I'd like the rat. Now, if you've never had a pet rat, don't give me grief. Rats are mammals, number one. They're like dogs and cats. And number two, rats are actually quite smart and actually really good pets. They're very smart. They're very loyal. They're good pets. Yeah, the tail's a little bit funky and it takes a little getting used to. But then again, maybe my tail is too. At any rate, that was my first pet. And I named my first pet Money Dollars. 6 years old, I knew that money was an important thing and dollars were good. I named my rat Money Dollars. At 7 years old, I became a magician. My older brother did some magic that he found in a Boy's Life magazine. I was 7, he was 11. It was interesting to me. My cognitive dissonance at 7 years old wasn't developed enough for him to fool me. What do I mean by that? Cognitive dissonance allows you to fill in the blanks. It's the thing that allows you to not have to make sure that your alarm clock is on your nightstand every single night. It's the thing that allows you to go to a particular drawer and pick up your keys. It's your idea of how things work. So your cognitive dissonance allows you usually to skip over things that are in the moment seemingly unimportant. What do I mean by that? If you had to think about every single thing, if you had to relearn putting on your pants and tying your shoes and shaving your face, which I didn't do this morning, if you are required every single time you do a behavior to think it through again, you would go crazy. You'd never be able to get through your day. So what the cognitive dissonance does is it fills in those blanks. If your blanks were filled in with good stuff, then you produce good results. If your cognitive dissonance, if your belief of how things are is filled with bad things, the world's horrible, I never win, I always lose my money, everybody hates me, relationships are a lot of work, it's hard to be fit and healthy. If those are your core beliefs, 2 things happen. Number one, you search for validation of those truths. Secondly, you won't even bother trying. And the reason you won't bother trying is you'll say to yourself, I'm already going to lose. Why bother trying? So it's important for you to, first of all, understand everything's hypnosis. You get to choose, and then start hacking somebody else's system. If you're brand new to the show, we are on a kind of an informal run here. My intention is that we are going to start broadcasting full-time, giving away big cash giveaways, having all sorts of fun very soon, yet we're not there yet. So we're informal. And in this informal state, you have the ability to grab the link, join me live, get on the air, ask me questions if you're working on anything. Better relationships, more money, emotional, mental, spiritual well-being. I've been teaching people how to reprogram their subconscious minds for over 40 years. 40 years. And I'd like to help you now. I charge $60,000 for a one-on-one session. I'd like to help you totally free. All you got to do, contact the link or click the link in the chat here on the stream. If you're watching on Instagram, go either to the Instagram, should have a link there. If it does not, go to my Facebook feed or just click the link at the bottom of the screen, copy and paste it, and come chat with me. I want to chat with you. So back to the idea that you can become a millionaire by reprogramming your brain. There's a belief that your first million is the most difficult one to make. That once you know you can make $1 million, you can do it again and again and again. And I would agree with that. I also have a recommendation. My recommendation is skip the first one altogether. Move right to the second one. How do you do that? You do it through a technology that I teach at Turning Point, the event we just finished here at Studio Money, the event we've got coming up in 2 weeks in Fort Lauderdale. So, by the way, if you're in South Florida, I would love to meet you in person, give you a big old hug, change the quality of your life. And then we're back in Carlsbad at Studio Money at the end of October. So you've got 2 more chances in October to come be with me live. Let me hypnotize you in person. Let me reprogram your brain. All you got to do is call 1-800-92-POWER and tell my team you want to join me at Fort Lauderdale or Carlsbad. When you come there, I'm going to reprogram your brain with the thoughts of a multimillionaire using a technology called psychoneuroduplication. What is PND? PND is my answer to the complicated process of subconscious reprogramming. You don't have to work hard at it. It's really 3 simple steps. Step 1, say the words. Fill in the blank, whatever the words are. I am, fill in the blank. I am a millionaire. I am a genius. I am too sexy for my shirt. The moment you proclaim that truth, your subconscious mind wants to be right. It wants to fulfill whatever statements you put out into the universe. So any I am statement is the beginning of a program. I have a hard time remembering names. I am so stupid. I always win. I'm a champion. I'm excellent. I'm a multi-billionaire, even if the money has not yet been deposited in my bank account. All of these are programs. Everything begins with a program. Everything begins in thought. And so sometimes what you have to do is you have to suspend disbelief. I'll repeat that term again. It's important. You have to suspend disbelief. You have to make a proclamation in the face of everything appearing to be untrue. This morning, I'm playing racquetball, like I said, with my executive assistant. He's a hell of an athlete. He really is. Good-looking guy. All the ladies swoon. All the men are frightened. And we're playing racquetball. And in the first game, I tend to get a jump on things because I come at them really hard in the beginning to get that advantage. So the first game, I crushed him. He's very competitive. He's as competitive as I am. He's very competitive. In the second game, he was on fire to beat me. It was clear he was not going to let me win, and he whooped me. He beat me on the second game by 2 points. Third game, my brain said, we may not get to play anymore. These games have been long. The volleys have been long. And I said, I'm winning this game. He was warmed up, and he was acing his serves. He was crushing me. It was 11-1. My brain said, that's okay. The final score is going to be 15-13. That's what the final score is going to be. And I started playing, and I kept saying 1 point. That's all I need is 1 point. Now I need this 1 point. Now I need this 1 point. Because that's all you can deal with. One thing at a time. I have some firefighter friends, and I asked one of them one day, guy I went to school with, I asked Tim Dibsey. I said, Tim, how do you go in and fight this huge fire? What do you do? He said, we've got to figure out a way to make a big fire into a bunch of little fires and then fight one little fire at a time. Made complete sense to me. When your life is going wrong, when everything seems to be a five-alarm blaze, what you've got to do is find one thing that you can find right, one thing that you can find perfect. Go clean out your sock drawer. Go arrange your spice rack. Go separate your whites from the rest of the laundry. For me, whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, whenever my brain feels like I just cannot do anymore, I stop myself and I say, get out of hell. Because right now you're in hell, and in hell, nothing works. So here's how I get out of hell. I look at my hand. Now, first thing I notice is what a remarkable piece of engineering my hand is. There has to be a God to have created something as wonderful as my hand that's able to move and do everything that my hand does. Then I realize that my hand is perfect and I'm looking at my hand, which means my eyes work too. So if my hand works and my eyes are working, then I couldn't be in hell, because in hell, nothing's perfect. You see, what you focus on expands. And when you focus on the things that are good in your life, you get more. This is particularly true in relationships. I watch people all the time getting angry at somebody else, whether it's their significant other, their husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse. And I see them getting angry at their kids or their friends or their coworkers. And I ask people, does that serve you? Yeah, they made a mistake. My house manager this morning came in early and she wanted to make some tea for herself. So she put a pot on the stove of water to heat up the water for her tea. And then she left to go to work. Must have gotten carried away in her work, because when my wife came downstairs, the pot was on the stove. The water had boiled out. It was empty, but the flame was on. Well, clearly that's a good way to burn a house down. Rather than get angry at my house manager and chew her out because she almost killed all of us, I just said, do you realize what you did? She said, oh, I'm so sorry. She was already beating herself up. So me beating her up isn't going to make the point any better. The question, though, as the leader of my household and the person who is in control of my life, how do I stop my house manager from burning down the house when all she wants to do is make a cup of tea? What I said was, how about you don't make a cup of tea in a saucepan? How about you make a cup of tea in that pot over there that we use to heat up the water that we use for our cacao and our coffee in the morning? That way it'll never overheat. Oh, I didn't know how to use that. Simple enough. Let's teach you. Challenge solved. She's not chewed out. Likely never again going to let a pot on the stove, knock on wood, overheat and burn the water out. So first thing you got to understand is we end up where we're headed. Communication equals wealth. If you're not getting what you want right now, it's because you're looking in the wrong place and communicating with the wrong people. It's that simple. So there is a way for you to win that's different than how you're doing it, and it works. It all starts with your program. It all starts with your hypnosis. It all starts with what you believe to be true. So in order for things to change, you must change. And you change by changing the programs of your brain. Then he says, go, Anthony, way to let Marshall win. Your job is safe for another day. Oh, no, it's not. It is not. Because the last game I said I was going to win 15-13, and I won 15-13. So, yes, his job is secure, and he didn't let me win, and I wouldn't let him win either. I mean, again, I like how hard it is. It's a phenomenal workout, and I love you too, Denny. Daxton, good to see you as always. Glad you're with me. You are a rock star, my friend. So the second step of psychoneuroduplication, step one, you say the words. Whatever the words are, just say the words. Sometimes I think people don't realize how powerful saying the words is. And it's because when you say the words, I am a genius, I am an awesome husband, I am a great dad, I'm too sexy for my shirt, your subconscious mind, when you make those statements on a conscious level, has to go in through the files of your subconscious and say, how do I substantiate this statement that they just made? Step two of psychoneuroduplication. And again, this is everything. You don't need anything else. This is all you need to accomplish anything you want to accomplish in your life. Step two, gather up the available data. Let me repeat that, because there's a key word in there. Gather up the available data. Why the available data? And again, this is so simple. This is so easy. The available data I have a big subtle bandage on my head. Last night, I bent over to do something and I leaned in too far, apparently. When I leaned back up, whacked it on the corner of a cabinet. You'll never have all the data. You'll only have the available data. A lot of people, I'd say the majority of the population, are getting ready to get ready. They never, ever execute because they're always just this close to everything lining up and everything being perfect. I'm this close. I almost got what I want. You'll never be solid. It will never be solid. You will always be working on it. So let that be the lesson. So what I want you to do is I want you to realize that when you gather up the available data, step 3 is to act as if success is certain. Step 1, say the words, I am a millionaire. Step 2, gather up the available data. Take a look at other people that are making money in a way that you might want to make money, in a profession or an occupation or a vocation that would please you and not seem like work. Gather up the available data. Hack their system. And then step 3, act as if success is certain. You see, that's the key. You got to fail forward fast. You've got to put out crap and then put out crap 2.0. It works for Microsoft. It will work for you. The key, though, is to realize it all stems from who you are. So it's not enough to learn. You got to become someone new. You got to become a person of excellence. I'm level 63, and I admit it. When my open heart surgery happened and I gained 68 pounds, I took it easy. I gave myself excuses. You just had open heart surgery, not your fault. At one point, though, you've got to say, you know what? It's still my life. No matter what's happened to me, I still have to perform. I cried because I had no shoes. Then I met a man who had no feet. No use whining. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get healthy again. I'm going to take the fat off, and I'm going to get some exercise in 7 days a week, whether it's a 3 or a 5 minute walk, whether it's an hour and 15 minutes of hardcore racquetball, whether it's resistance training on the weights. And so what you do is you start asking yourself, who am I? And when you ask yourself, who am I, you also have to be sure to give yourself grace when you've not stepped up to the level that you want to step up to. So this morning we're playing racquetball, and Anthony gets in a couple of really good shots, and I go to return it, and I miff it. If I miff it, if I blow my shot, and I don't return it, and he gets the point, rather than saying, I'm such an idiot, oh my God, what a moron, what you want to do is say something like this when you perform less than you want to perform. You say, that's not like me. I'm better than that. I am way, way better than that. I can win this game. And until it's 15 to whatever, until the game is over, you have a chance to win. So I don't care what level you are right now. Like I said, I'm level 63. I would even go as far as to say I'm either in the end of my autumn or I am on the edge of my winter in the seasons of life. And it's just a reality. I'm not going to get angry about it. I'm not going to get angry being level 63 because one day I'm going to be level 83, and I'm going to wish I was level 63. And so rather than get angry at the game, you say, no, what do I have at this level that other people don't? Now, I don't know if Anthony's watching my broadcast. He might be able to see me. We're in Studio Money now, and his office is up the hall. He might be able to hear me. But Anthony beats me on speed. He does. He's faster than I am. He is definitely stronger than I am. The guy's got some big old guns. At least for now, he's stronger than I am. I'm smarter than he is as far as the racquetball game is concerned. I played more games. So the best way for me to beat him is using my noggin. It's strategically knowing where to hit. Do I hit soft and get him up to the front, knowing full well that even if he can return that one, my next hit's going to be hard to make him run to the back. Can I exhaust him? Can I make him run around? So step 2, hacking somebody else's system. You got to start asking yourself, who has won at this game that I'm playing, and how did they do that differently than how I'm doing it now? As a millionaire, one of the things that you'll have to understand is the key strategy for becoming a millionaire is to understand you must learn the skills of irresistible influence. All the money, all the benefits, everything that you want that you don't have, you're going to get from other people. So first, you must fall in love with other people. Now, I'm the first person to admit There's a lot of people I don't like, especially these days. People that celebrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Can't stand them. They're despicable, sickening human beings. Democrats that support criminal aliens and criminals in general more than they support tax-paying lawful U.S. citizens. Those people are despicable. They shouldn't be in office. They don't represent me. They don't represent you. They don't represent anybody good. National media, mainstream media, and big tech that make up lies. Despicable. I don't love them. They're a part of my world, though. And so I've got to at least like them. I've got to find a way. Forgive me, I don't like them, but I've got to find a way to love them, even in their nastiness, and acknowledge the idea that everything exists because of resistance. Now, that said, in my job as a person of influence, in my quest to make millions of dollars, here's a real powerful concept for you. It's a concept that I use inside of influence. It's a concept that I also use inside of my life. And the concept is this, write it down. You've got to learn how to play with life's resistance, or play with your prospect or customer's resistance. What do I mean by that? People that succeed have an overwhelming belief that they're going to succeed. They don't think everything's against me. The world is, wants me to lose. No, they think the world wants me to win. I mean, look at the world. What an awesome place it is. And I'm not talking about a Pollyanna, positive mental, law of attraction, secret kind of process. No, I'm talking about choosing a reality. I'm talking about you determining there are people with less smarts, less good work ethic, less willingness to do what it takes, that are succeeding more than you're succeeding. If those people with less than you can succeed, then the question you have to ask is, why aren't you succeeding? And I'll tell you what it is. They don't give up. They're not as talented as you are. They're not as good looking as you are. They're not as hardworking as you are. They're more persistent than you are. So in the last game, and today it was apparent we were only going to have time to play 3 games. In the last game, Anthony was beating me 11-1. And I said, this is not how this is going to end up. I'm going to win 15. I'm going to win. And worst case scenario, it's going to be 15-13. I'm not going into overtime points. I'm not going to do it. I'm beating him. I'm going to get 15. The most he'll have is 13. And so I started just focusing on 1 point at a time, acting as if success was certain, chipping away at his confidence, mind fogging him, MFing him, and making him think that he was doing well, and then even going so far as to act as if I was exhausted and stumbling, tripping over my own feet, taking a big sigh when I reached down to pick up the ball. I sure hope he's not watching the show right now. All those tricks to make him think that I'm tired when I'm not, when I am ready to whoop him, and I did. So step 3, like I said, you've got to execute as if success was your birthright, as if it's done. Now, what would have happened if I hadn't won? What would have happened if I had played and said, no, there's no way I'm winning this game? What would have happened had he won? Same thing that's happening right now. I would have come in and I would have done my show, and I would have said the lesson for me was don't give him that much of a running start. Determine you're going to win way before he gets 11 points and you've got 1. So, it's not difficult to get what you want. It's not difficult to make this your first million or your best millions year. I will say it's different. It's different. What you want is in a place you haven't looked. Before I went into semi-retirement when COVID hit, I had a lot of strategic alliance relationships, other people's stages that I would get on. Now, if you're brand new to me or if you don't know me very well, one of my fortes, one of my superpowers is, as a hypnotist, I understand persuasion in a way that most people don't. I understand how to sell people things in a way most people have no clue is even possible. And here's why. My job as a salesperson, as a hypnotist, is to hypnotize people to hold new beliefs. We can all understand why somebody might want a new car or a new house or, a seminar, an educational event. That all makes sense. When I hypnotize people in my shows to sing like Lady Gaga or strip like Chippendales dancers or speak languages from other planets, there's no benefit in that. So the fact that I can influence somebody, I can sell them on the idea that it's in their best interest to act in the most crazy of ways, that's real influence. That's hypnosis. When my job is to influence or sell somebody on overcoming a phobia, becoming 10 times, excuse me, more confident, or just going out and boldly finishing what they've started, that's a whole nother realm. So when you take that realm and that power and that level of influence to just sell somebody something, done. So before COVID, I would get on stages just like I do now, and I would crush it. I would make the promoter a boatload of money. I would put everybody in a buying state so they also bought more of the promoter's goods and services, and everybody wins. COVID, unfortunately, shut down all of my strategic alliance partners because they were all the largest seminar companies in the country, and because they were so large, they had large staffs, and they couldn't scale down fast enough. They went out bankrupt. They went out of business. And so now I'm faced with the knowledge that the new wave of people doing live events have a different mindset. They came out of COVID. They're mostly millennials. And somewhere along the line, somebody programmed their brain that it was bad to sell things at live events. Now, I myself find that really ridiculous. That'd be like saying it's bad to sell things at the grocery store. It's really bad for Best Buy to sell all that electronic. That's what they do. So when I go into a seminar and I close, generally speaking, to a qualified audience, I'm closing 75 to 100% of that room on a $2,000 ticket. When those people come to my seminar, when they come to Turning Point, and if you're coming, you should be forewarned, I'm going to close. I'm going to sell you something. And I'm going to sell between $10,000 and $20,000 per head in sales at Turning Point. Now, that's a pretty good business model. We just did a Turning Point. We had all said and done, when you exclude all the people that had already bought Inner Circle or staff or teammates, we had a total of about 60 people in the room, 60 buying units in the room, 60 people. We did over $750,000 in sales. Now, it's not 20,000, but it's 1,250, 12,500. It's still decent. So how do we get to that place where we're making money? First and foremost, psychoneuroduplication. You say the words, I am a multimillionaire. Secondly, you gather up the available data. You hack somebody else's system. And then you act as if success is certain. What does that mean? You don't put your toe on the boat and keep your foot on the shore. Your butt's in the water. Either get on the boat or don't get on the boat. Stay on the shore. But either way, commit fully. To make money, what you've got to find, and Steve Jobs said this in his speech at the graduation at either Wharton or some major business school. He said, one of the most important things that you can do in your life is find the thing that you love. Find the thing that you would do whether you got paid for it or not. And when you're willing to do that, when you're willing to step up your game and you're willing to figure out what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. I'm not working today. We didn't even have to do the broadcast. I'm not obligated to be here. Here's why I'm here. You matter to me. Your life matters to me. And I'll keep coming back and doing these broadcasts as long as we've got people sharing the broadcast, as long as I've got people asking me questions, as long as I've got people jumping into the chat and chatting, I will share this with you every day. Here's the biggest reason most people don't ever make money. They have this notion, this hypnotic program in their brain that says all they've got to do to produce a better result is to work harder. No, what you want is in a place you haven't looked. So what I do whenever I'm not winning is I start looking in a place we haven't looked. I told you we had a big week. It was an awesome week. My son Sterling on last Sunday competed in his first ever band competition. They crushed. He did amazing. He should have won. They would have had the judges not been bought and paid for and had kids of their own in the contest. We had a turning point, phenomenal turning point, major breakthroughs, awesome audience. It was so much fun. I loved it. I have so much fun helping people get everything that they want. We took a semi-day off on Friday, went and did 2 escape rooms, had Korean barbecue for dinner. Everything was just amazing. We went bowling with his bandmates and all the parents of the band. It was a remarkable weekend. Top it all off. Yesterday, my son Maximus and my daughter Prosperity both got baptized in the name of Jesus Christ, and it was just a remarkable day. All of that going on, all of those things happening. I haven't worked since I was 23 years old, and neither should you. So how do you find what you love? Well, you ask yourself this question. If I had all the money in the world, what would I do with my life? The answer to that question is what you should be doing to make a living. Everything is monetizable. What you're looking for is in a place you haven't looked. So I like teaching people. Since the old business model of strategic alliance relationships isn't as effective as it used to be, people's business models changed. The people that know me as the greatest stage closer of all time aren't in business. Some of the young bucks on the way up right now don't know me from anybody else, so they're not bringing me onto their stage. Some people don't want me on their stage because I close too well, I sell too well, and they're insecure. They're poverty conscious. They try to squeeze every single dime that they can rather than realizing, let me make a dime and I'll make you a dime. Everybody wins. Oh no, you're making a dime from my people. I used to have hair. So the key is to recognize it's not an either or world. It's an and world. Other people can win, and so can you. Melissa Siegler, it was awesome to see you at Turning Point. It was an amazing week and weekend. That is very true. And then finally, the biggest thing you've got to realize in making money, your job is to not figure out what you want. That's what most people do. They work harder and harder and harder for what they want. No, your job is to solve other people's challenges. Your job is to get into their head, be empathetic, see the world through their point of view, and say, what do they need? I know for a fact that most of you don't sell very well. I know. I don't care who's on the stream right now. I don't care who watches this later. 90% of the population doesn't sell well. And even the 10% that think they sell well, of those, 8 of those 10%, 8 out of the 10%, 8%, they sell okay. And because they sell okay and they sell better than the 90%, they think they sell really, really well. And they just do okay. They get a lot of the low-hanging fruit, maybe a little bit of the upper fruit because they're persistent. They don't understand subconscious persuasion and influence. All buying decisions are based first subconsciously and then backed up consciously. Your subconscious mind is your emotional mind. Your conscious mind is your logical mind. Therefore, all buying decisions are based first emotionally and then backed up logically. Nobody needs a $600,000 Rolls Royce Phantom to go from point A to point B until you've had the experience of riding in one. No one needs a 17,000 square foot palace and a house on the beach in Southern California until you've lived that lifestyle. Then you will want it. I want you to recognize this truth. As people mature, as they level up, as they become older, the condition of the human mind is such that it just wants peace. It wants to relieve stress. And so what it does as it levels up and it gets older is the human condition and the human mind starts to settle for things. It says, you know what? I used to think I wanted all of that, but now I'm older. I'd just be happy if my bills got paid. I'd just be happy if my wife made love to me once a month. I'd be happy if, I argued with my spouse less than half the time. I'd just be happy, to take off 10 pounds, let alone the extra 60 that I really need to take off. And the mind starts getting complacent. So part of what you do in the playing of resistance is not just playing with your prospects or your customers' resistance, reframing what other people would call objections. You've got to learn how to play with your own resistance as well. I used to be ripped. I used to go to the gym every single day. I would do my cardio in the morning. I would do my resistance training in the afternoon, and I was ripped. I was probably 6% body fat, massive amount of muscle mass. I just at one point in my life realized I didn't feel like working out quite that hard. So now I don't like working out hard, yet I still like being fit. I love racquetball. My wife and my kids won't really play with me anymore. So I found somebody who's at my level of skill set, who likes playing with me, and we play as often as I can. I'll play every day if he'll play, and I'll play anybody else too. So if you want to play racquetball, come check it out. I'd like to play racquetball with you. The last thing I want to tell you, though, is ultimately the key to becoming a multi-millionaire is to solve other people's challenges. Get out of your head, get into their lives. Uber Eats, classic example. Uber in general, classic example. Somebody said people have a need. They can't count on taxis. Limos are too expensive. Wouldn't it be great if my neighbor would give me a ride to the airport and then I could just pay my neighbor? Wouldn't that be great? And Uber's born. I believe we are in a time where mass communication, big tech, and media has changed everything. It's really hard to sort through all of the garbage and all of the nonsense and all of the misinformation that we see online and all of the just utter nonsense that mainstream media does to prop up their own agendas. Where do you go to get truth? Well, I'd like to say you can come to me. I'm the first person to admit when I'm wrong. I really am. And even when I hold a belief that is proven to be wrong after the fact, the moment it's proven to be wrong, I'm the first person to say, I was wrong, you were right. Let's continue. So I want you to be moldable talent. I want you to exercise being the kind of a person that changes up who you are, because the world will never change. You will change, and the world will echo off the new person differently. You get back what you send out. If people say no to you a lot, it's because you're fun to say no to. If you want to become fun to say yes to, come join me at Turning Point. We've got one coming up the 12th, 13th, and 14th in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, down by Miami, South Florida. I'd love to have you come join me there. We also have a Turning Point going on in Carlsbad right here at Studio Money coming up at the end of October. Check out silver.com, SYLVER.com for exact dates on those locations, and come join us. I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same bat station, to answer your questions, and maybe sooner or later you'll actually ask me a question. Until then, you have an awesome day, and I want to wrap up my show with something new. I didn't used to do this. I wrap up all of my seminars with a prayer. And I haven't done it on my broadcast. You know, everybody feels differently. So I'm going to wrap up with a prayer today. If you don't believe in God, it's okay. It's hypnosis. I'm just flapping my gums. If you do believe in God, I promise I will respect however God shows up for you. Fair enough? I'm going to close my eyes just to focus. Hey, God, thank you. Praise you for loving me and my family so much, for protecting us and watching over us. Praise you for every single person that shared some time with me on this broadcast today. I pray that you would have let the words that I spoke speak into their lives, and that they would recognize that there's nothing broken about them that needs to be fixed. All they have to do is recognize everything you've given us, including the things we thought were broken, are actually gifts. And our job is to find the reason that they are gifts. Praise you, God, for my son, Sterling Silver, producing the show on a regular basis. Praise you for all of my family and friends that visited me at Turning Point and over the weekend, and protect us each and every day, that we recognize we are in this together. May we all be a force of goodness, of prosperity, and abundance in our lives. I say amen. You are totally loved. My name is Marshall Silver. I look forward to seeing you very soon. God bless. Make it an awesome day.